on At the Races, we follow obviously the Irish racing scene very closely, and it was fascinating for me watching Cheltenham of 2013, because you had 3 winners there with Arcona, Beneficent and Ted Veal, but the general public seemed, terrestrial TV, you were saying, oh, who's this man, Bryan Cooper? Whereas on ATR, we've been effectively saying for 2 years, this is the young kid who is going to be a champion jockey one day. And it was no surprise to anyone who watches ATR that you did that. But it really sort of put you in the forefront of everyone's views.
Yeah, well, I suppose I hadn't ridden much over. Obviously, I rode in Cheltenham a couple of times and a couple of placed horses in it, but I'd never ridden a winner. And I suppose because I was so young, I was only 20, and they were so used to seeing the likes of Ruby, Barry and Paul and AP, riding the big winners every year. And then for someone, I suppose someone new to come along and so young, they kind of just, because it's been such a good few years before, someone my age, I think, had rode a winner in Cheltenham that young, I'd say they just kind of got a bit excited and blew it up a bit, because it was their first time.
But deservedly so, because, it's hard to get outside rides, let alone outside winners, and outside winners at Cheltenham, even less so. Obviously, Arcona was your ride at that time, but, they were 3 different stablers as well, and when they were those 3 horses, if I remember rightly.
Well, 2 for Tony Martin.
Right, 2 for Tony Martin, and then
the 1 for
the
Desi.
Arcona, yeah. It's like, to pick those up, though, and win on spares is really does put you, people are saying, crikey, he's not only picking up these, but he's winning on them as well. Yeah, well,
I suppose I had Beneficent, and I had quite a lot of luck with him before I'd ridden him in Cheltenham. I'd won 2 Grade 1s of him back home, and he was going over there again. People were doubting his ability, but he proved them wrong, and it was great to see him win. And then obviously Arcona was there, he was exceptional. It'll be a day I'll never forget for, I don't think ever, I'll always remember my first winner, but I think Arcona stands out as being a bit more special, just the way he did it and that. And I suppose then Ted Veal, I suppose he was one of Tony Martin's in a handicap, which, as you saw this year again, you have to respect.
Yeah.
And I was lucky again that things happened the right way. But look, I suppose I was going out in a lot of confidence as well after riding a winner in Cheltenham, which was a big help, And I probably going out in Ted Veal, I was going out in a lot of confidence, and I dropped him out, and I think I probably did things. Didn't panic in situations where maybe other times you would,
I guess in that type of ride as well, it's like a Lord Windermere ride. You can only ride horses that way in some ways. If they're unfancied, it's much harder. Well, not that Ted Veal would have been unfancied, but it's much harder, isn't it, sometimes to ride the 6-4 shot that everyone expects to be right there than a horse who can be dropped in a bit.
Yeah, well, if you have the horse underneath you, it's very easy. If you have the horse there and they're good enough to win at the end of the day, you just have to be in the right position at the right time, I think.
And you went from Cheltenham to the Grand National. You finished 4th at Cheltenham. You'd only had 1 less winner than Ruby Walsh. You had a great run in the Grand National. But then the moment that caused your first big problem happened at Down Royal with this femur break. I mean, it was almost as if you're on a high 1 minute and down the next.
Yeah, sure. Look, it was basically 2 weeks after Punchestown. I was after riding winner in Punchestown as well at all the festivals. So I'd ridden a winner at all the festivals that year, and a week or 10 days later I was lying in Down Royal and on the way to Belfast Hospital with a broken femur, and it wasn't long bringing me back down to earth.
You were riding to Parlo for Tony Martin that day. I mean, was this unexpected? Was this a horse who usually we'd have had no problem on, sort of thing?
Yeah, well, it was his first run over fences. It was a very good hurdle for him, and Tony thought he had a good chance. It was an ordinary beginner's chase, So I was going out, and he had a good chance, And he fell, and I didn't get a kick or anything. Just the ground, whatever way I landed on my leg, it just happened to break. The ground was quite hard that day, and I was a bit unfortunate, But I suppose there's no good time for it to happen. But if there was a time for it to happen, it did happen at the right time in one sense, And
are you a good patient, or has Tommy installed into you to be a good patient, or are you someone who is walking around this house smashing things up, sort of thing?
I was fine then, I it was the summertime, I knew I wasn't going to miss a whole lot. Obviously it was frustrating the first couple of days we were 9, but once I got up and about, I was fine. But I think this time's a little more different now, because it's obviously, I missed 3 winners in Cheltenham on the Friday. I was just after getting out of theatre on the Friday, about 5 o'clock, and I got up and I saw all the results on the iPad, and it was pretty hard, to be honest. Now it was just, obviously it was delighted for Gigginstown to have the winners, but to miss them as well, and knowing I'm going to be missing Fairy House, Aintree, Punchestown, and they're going to have so many good horses there. But look, at the end of the day, that's the job I'm in, and they're the blows you have to hit. If you look at Ruby, how many times has it happened to him? You know, he's missed, I think it was in 18 months, I think he'd only ridden a couple of times, you know. He'd missed only big winners through injuries, and that's the joys you have to, that's the ups and downs of the game you're in, you know, and I'm just lucky I have a good job to come back to.
And O'Connor is the leader at the last. The final flight, and O'Connor over from Diakali. They're clear of Ruakana and Bloodcotil, and on the run up towards the finish, it's O'Connor who's going to extend his winning run over hurdles and wins in great style for Bryan Cooper and Desi Hughes. O'Connor beats Diakali.
And jockeys, because people will think, you know, how can a jockey like you've had quite a long time out now in effectively 2 years, two great jockeys have insurance. They, you know, you have things you can fall back on, can't you, to keep yourself going?
Yeah, we've great funds there. We've the Irish Jockeys Fund, Inter-Jockeys Fund, who look after us very well, and obviously you have your own insurance as well. So we're very well looked after, and it's the Irish, you know, obviously you have Oaksey House in England, but over here they're doing their very, very best for me now. They've offered me great opportunities to get back into rehab, you know, and as soon as I can start physio, it's all looked after, so they've been very good as well.
I think it was January the 3rd you got the job on the Gigginstown house stud. I presume you weren't taken for a cup of tea like one or two other people, but what happened that day, and how did it come about? Was it completely like a bolt from the blue for you, or did you, in the back of your mind, know that this might be happening?
No, I didn't have a clue, you know. I was as surprised as anyone, really, you know. I was surprised that Davey got let go, but I suppose I'd ridden quite a lot of winners for Jigginstown in the last couple of years, and I had very good luck for him. I'd ridden first lieutenant, and I'd ridden plenty graded winners for him, and a couple of, as a claimer, I'd ridden a good few handicap winners for him as well, you know. So I had great success from down a couple of years, and I was lucky to fall in to ride all their second string horses, basically all from the end of last year to all this year before I got the job. And you know, I was surprised, but I was very honoured to get the opportunity as well, because there was obviously a lot of riders that could have got out there as well, and I was very grateful to get the call up.
First win, I think, for them was Tona Dudery.
Yeah, when I got the job, it was my first ride for him. My first ride I fell, and then my second ride he won. I had a choice of picking two, and I got it right the first time, so it wasn't too bad.
But as a jumps jockey in Ireland, you know, it's so difficult. There are good jockeys out there struggling to get rides, not necessarily even rides, but rides that can win a race. Yeah. To get that job, I mean, it is obviously in the top 2 or 3 jobs in Ireland.
Definitely.
For you, what are you, 21?
Just 21. Yeah.
21. I mean, it's like this is something that could last you for years if it went well.
Yeah, well, look, they're only getting bigger. You know, they're buying young horses every year, and that's what they do. That's the way they work. They buy their young horses and they bring them through, and hopefully, as they say, as Michael and Eddie say, that hopefully they can fight a Gold Cup horse out of one of them, you know, and they've had great luck doing it so far. You know, they buy lovely, good chasing type of horses, and they're only getting bigger, and that's what's keeping me going now. In one sense, you know, looking forward to all them good horses to come back to, and whenever I do get back.
And of the rides you've given horses over here in Ireland, away from the Cheltenhams, are there 2 or 3 that stand out for you? I mean, I get the feeling you're not a man who comes home and says, I was rather good today. No. Although, obviously, you have been good on numerous occasions. Are there a couple of rides that you've loved, that you've sort of thought, you know, even you've said to yourself, I tell you what, Coops, that wasn't bad?
It's hard, like, you know, because I was lucky to be in such good positions and be riding good horses, but...
it's not all about good horses, Coops. That's why you get the good job.
I suppose I won an Action Master one day in Kilbeggan.
Facing up now to the final fence, Traffic Article, Jason Maguire, Corleone, and on the inside now Action Master racing alongside and over the last. Traffic Article just in front, Action Master on the inside. They're racing up to the final 200 yards. Traffic Article, Action Master on the inside as they run towards the finish. And Action Master and Traffic Article, Action Master and Bryan Cooper.
It was only a beginner's chase around Kilbeggan, but he was never going, and then he decided he wanted to go, and I got up. Jason Maguire's inside in the last 10 strides, and I got up to win ahead, and I had 3 winners that day. It was my first treble, and he was my third one, and that was quite special. I know it was only beginner's chase, but every time I won an Action Master, it never made it easy. He always looked for a way out of it, and to be fair, I rode a couple of winners on him, and they were quite special to me anyway, them ones.
So if things go right now, you're in a terrifically good position. I mean, people will know you were voted sexiest sportsman. I mean, how did that happen? That was a fix, wasn't it? I mean, that's
fix. I think
you
get more fun out of that than anyone else. You're the one who brings it up.
But I just look and I just think, it gives hope for all of us, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
You were quite chuffed, weren't you? It's not a bad thing to win if you're going to win something.
No, it wasn't. And to beat a few of the rugby players, they're all big and strong lads. I'm only a little wimpy fella.
With a dodgy foot.
Yeah.
Gooch, we're all missing you in the weight room. Get back before too long. And as Ireland's sexiest sports star, I'm sure all the 17-year-olds in Kildare are missing you too.
Wish Bryan Cooper all the best on the way back. He mightn't be as sexy now coming back this year.
but I mean, you live here with Robbie Mack and who else do you live
Johnny
with?
King as well. So, he's amateur for Desi Hughes.
How did they take living with Ireland's sexiest sportsman?
I don't know. They got more slagging over it than anything else, I think.
Well, Robbie Mack would be $1 million for a competition like
that. No, he'd be too tall.
But the few, so I mean, what have we got down here? What have you got
boot,
on this,
basically
this thing at the moment?
It's a ski boot, really. You can take it on and off.
Right.
I've no cast on, which is a help. But it's still quite swollen at the minute, but the swelling will go down in time. And it's great, I'm able to get around. I can walk away in the crutches, and in another 2 weeks I'll probably start physio straight away and just start building it back up, really,
And then just kick on.
Yeah.
But you won't want to rush this, will you? I mean,
no.
4 to 6 months will probably be the minimum.
Look, after Punchestown, looking at it, I'm not going to be missing a whole lot because Gigginstown haven't got a lot of summer horses. They have a couple of horses, but all the good winter horses will be going out in grass. And obviously, I have Desi's there as well to ride. I have his as well. But at the end of the day, it's the summer, and it's going to be hard ground. And I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to wait and give it all the time. If it takes 4 months, if it takes 6 months, if it takes 10 months, once I'm back. And really, if I'm back, it'd be great to be back for the stall. But if not, if I'm back for October time, when the racing really starts getting going and the good meetings, I think there's a meeting there in Gorn. The first greater races are in Punchestown. If I'm back for around that time, I'd settle with that,
A lot of sitting around, Brian. What do you do?
Sleep, eat, and I give up watching daytime TV.
Well, hold on, let's get two things. You can't sleep all day, and you're clearly not eating much, because if I was to eat all day, I wouldn't look anything like you.
Yeah, but I look a lot better now than what I did when I came out of hospital, but I'm eating more now than I ever did, and I'm just trying to build myself back up, because I lost a lot of weight with the operations and that, and as you can probably see, I probably look light, and I probably weigh about 9.3 or 4, which I've never seen. I haven't seen that for a long time, but I'm eating a lot and trying to build myself back up, because the operations did take a lot out of me, and I was down home in Kerry for the last couple of days, and since I got out of hospital, and I've been eating very well and just trying to build myself back up. And other than that,
are you a computer game man?
I gave up watching daytime TV because there's nothing on it, and
hold on, is that the races every day?
Yeah, but when you're missing winners every day, it gets annoying as well. But I watch movies on the iPad and the laptop and that to keep me occupied.
No computers?
No, I don't play computers. But I was looking, when I was at home, I could go out into the yard and watch Dad, watch the horses riding out, and Dad has plenty of young horses in there, and I had a horse down there myself I could watch as well, We, it was great just to get out, to walk over, to try over to the yard and being able to see the horses riding out and that. And when I came up on Tuesday, I called in to see Desi as well, and called into the yard, and there's always things to do, really. There's been, since I've come back to Kildare, there's been people calling over every day of the week to see how I am. All the lads have been over, so I'm keeping myself busy, and I think that's a major thing as well, to keep your brain occupied. And if you're sitting down staring at the walls, when it'll get to you. But if you can keep yourself busy and occupied, it's a big help.
And on that score, you're just talking about your weight. I mean, would there be a chance that you might take a couple of flat rides before you go jumping, if the weight stays that way, just to sort of get yourself back into the swing, so to speak? I
wouldn't imagine it'll stay that way. It was the same thing happened to me last year, when I broke my femur. You lose muscle and all that, but I've plenty of time to put it back on now, and I'll be making the most of it while I'm out.